practice, practice, practice. And just when you think you've practiced enough, practice more, because inexperience can kill.
I'm Amanda, and I think it'd be cool to drive a convertible.
If I could drive any car, it would be a VW van.
I think I'd like to drive a limo, a semi, a school bus, and the Oscar Mayer Wienermobile.
My dream car would be a Corvette.
My dream car would be a Chevelle.
I drive a 2002 Ford Windstar. This is our family minivan.
Whenever you see a yellow light, slow down and never speed up.
Remember to keep checking your mirror, because then you're always aware of your surroundings and what's going on around you.
Every time you get in the car, be sure you buckle up.
The speed limit is 70 on freeway, 55 in highways, and 30 on residential areas.
911, what is your emergency?
I just saw a car accident, a bad one. This other car was just headed towards me. They were swerving out of control.
Okay, ma'am. Where exactly are you?
I was driving north on County Road 75, just outside here, Monticello. They went off in the ditch, and I don't know where they are.
And are you all right?
Yeah, I'm fine, but I'm still trying to find the other car. Wait, I see the other car. It's in the ditch. It's up against a tree.
How many people are hurt?
Oh, man, this looks bad.
102119, please, for special detail.
I have learned throughout my experience as just a driver myself and being a law enforcement officer that a weapon is a dangerous thing if it's in the wrong hands, and a vehicle is definitely a big weapon if you do not put it in the right hands and you don't get enough experience with it. I try to tell a lot of young drivers that if you are going to get behind the wheel, that you have to remember that you are driving a big, dangerous weapon, and that if you don't pay attention to what you're doing and get the experience in using it, that you could harm yourself or other people, and that could affect you the whole rest of your life, without question.
My name's Tim, and when I was 17, I was in a fatal car crash. That was my fault. I missed an intersection. The first thing I remember after the crash was waking up in the hospital, seeing my mother and father hovering over me, telling me that my best friend Derek that was riding with me was killed, and the young family of four that were in a car that I hit were all killed. After the crash and after getting out of the hospital, I went back to school. And school was a very hard place for me to be. I used to get letters in the mail with newspaper clippings of the crash and letters that said, "You are a killer." I was going to become a conservation officer. I was signed up and ready to go to college. I graduated from high school, and then it was time to deal with the legal ramifications of the crash. I was tried as an adult, even though I was 17 when it happened. I was up for vehicular manslaughter, homicide, I think both of which are a felony. Pled guilty to a lesser charge and went to jail. I never ended up going to college and becoming a conservation officer. When I was 15 and sitting in my first driver's ed class, and I couldn't wait to get my permit, and I couldn't wait to get my license and all that freedom that brings. And after the car crash and going through the court process and dealing with the legal ramifications, and then ending up going to jail, and all that freedom is taken away. My life changed forever. I use the analogy when I'm speaking with people in a driver's ed class about if I had a loaded gun sitting here on this table or a car sitting over here idling, neither one of them is going to hurt anybody. But if you put someone behind that gun or behind that wheel that's not trained properly, not paying attention, or screwing around, each one is just deadly as the other. They can take a life or change a life just like that.
Calling all emergency vehicles to County Road 75 in Wright County, 2 miles south of Interstate 94. Report of a car in a ditch up against a tree with a driver and 1 passenger. Their conditions are unknown.
Copy that. We're on our way. You better start the medical helicopter.
you so excited about getting to drive?
Because I get to go places and I don't have to ride my bike in the summer or the spring or fall.
I'm excited to drive because I get more freedom and I don't have to depend on my parents to drive me to work.
Driving for me seems like I have a lot more freedoms where if my parents aren't home and I want to go to a friend's house or something, I can go there because I can drive.
Driving, you can lose your life, and that was proved because we lost our best friend.
When I found out that Amanda died, it was shock, disbelief.
When I heard, I was just like, wow, she died. I was talking to her just a little bit ago, and now she's not with us anymore.
It was just weird, just knowing that she's gone and you couldn't really say goodbye.
I'd rather drive myself, listen to what music I want to.
I can go to the movies anytime I want to, and I won't have to worry about anybody driving me, and I can go hang out with my friends and don't have to worry about them giving me a ride home.
At the wake, it was beyond crying, and like never before, I was just wailing.
Everyone was taking it differently, but we all, had lost the same person. I threw up, I think, 6 times.
Why would you want to try other stuff or get crazy when you're driving?
Well, because you've never done it before. You've never had a chance to actually do it. You just go fast. Not necessarily fast. I mean, that's bad. Don't do it. But it's not. Well, it's just sense of freedom. I can do it now. Finally.
I went into driving with a very invincible feeling, and now it's a lot less.
With the car accident, it made you not want to drive anymore.
It just makes you nervous. You never, like everyone said, you don't want to get back in the vehicle. You don't, you feel safe, but at the same time you don't.
Driving a car, it would just be cool because you're in control of this big car and stuff, and it's just funner to drive, I guess.
Driving is just something we do every day, and to lose a friend to that, something that you're doing every day, is something that does stay with you. So
you do take it more serious because you remember the pain and you remember how it felt, and you don't want to feel that again. You don't want anyone else to feel that. So it makes driving a serious issue.
When you see on the videos and stuff where people die, or if they do live, they're just they're very non-functional and stuff. It really makes you kind of scared because you're I don't want to end up like that and stuff.
Well, I'm a little nervous because even though it's supposed to be safe out there, there's always that chance you might get head-on collision or just some little things, or every car might break down. Always something to be scared of, and you always got to make sure that doesn't happen.
You shouldn't be scared when you drive. You should feel like you have control over your vehicle, because if you don't, then obviously you do need more practice.
I've noticed I've driven a lot safer, even as I get older. You just know your limits. I guess that's the biggest thing, is knowing your limits. If you don't feel comfortable, you shouldn't be driving, but definitely getting experience is key.
I'll probably end up practicing my parents somewhere up north, probably non-public roads or somewhere in our private land.
One thing I'd be worried about is if my mom took me out, I can hear her just yelling at me or getting all upset with me if I did something wrong.
I'm a little afraid because my mom, when she was teaching my brother, would get really, really loud, and she's a terrible backseat driver.
When I got my permit, I thought, I'll just get a few hours in. I actually couldn't handle driving with my parents. My mother drove me crazy. So when I had to drive with her, I would just give up and I'd get frustrated and I'd say, I don't want to drive anymore. But after she passed away, after I saw the initial reaction of everyone, after I saw everyone at the funeral, at the wake, and everyone's just feelings, I realized that I don't want people to have to go through that with me. Yeah, I practiced a lot after that. I realized how important it was to practice.
And I would say if my sister would have had more practice, it could have been preventable.
We're going to need some medical attention. Passengers in critical condition, bleeding from the mouth and nose with some facial trauma. She's unconscious. What's her location?
We're approaching the scene. What's the status of the driver?
We have one fatality, female, about 16 to 18 years old. Looks like she died on impact.
was my daughter. She was very intelligent, very beautiful, athletic. She was a 3-sport athlete. She was quite the student leader. She was also a very loving and kind and caring person with a wonderful sense of humor. On December 26, 1999, we were driving down Interstate 94 from St. Cloud, going to Monticello. Amanda was 15 years old. She had her driver's permit. She was driving, and we took the exit onto a county road. She was driving the speed limit, which was 55 miles an hour, and I was very carefully monitoring her driving. And she wasn't making any bad decisions, like looking in the mirror to see if their hair is in the right place, or playing the radio, or talking on a cell phone. She wasn't doing any of those things. We were driving along, and a portion of the gravel shoulder was tarred, just a very small portion, without any line markings. And apparently she had gone over onto that tarred shoulder portion, and there was a gap. It was like a drop-off. I'm sure it must have surprised her, because it sure surprised me. So she, in her surprise, overcorrected to get back onto the road. And in doing so, she found herself in the oncoming lane of traffic. She started getting this S-curved shape going, and eventually she had no choice but to take the ditch, because we were going horizontally instead of vertically down the road. We hit 2 trees. It is the second tree that was much more significant. She broke her neck on impact of that tree. We hit the tree at such an angle that her steering wheel and the mechanisms were all on top of me. So I quickly called out her name, because I'm thinking, where is she? And all I heard was a very slight moan, a groan. After I heard her moan or groan, I heard her take her last breath. I knew she had died instantly. Mandy's death, I believe, was due to her inexperience. I thought Mandy was getting a lot of driver's experience because she would drive everywhere that we would go. However, I never once thought to help her practice in all different types of driving conditions and weather conditions, and take her to maybe the school parking lot when it is empty and it's snowing out, and have her do a 360 or a 180 to drive maybe 30 miles an hour and slam on the brakes and see what that feels like. I never did that with her. I never even thought to take her on a back county road or a gravel road and go 30 miles an hour and slam on your brakes to see what that feels like. And I sure never thought to take her on a county road where, when the gravel shoulder meets the tarred road, to see what that kind of a drop-off feels like and how to get your car back onto the road again. I never once thought that that could make that big of a difference. Practice, 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 and just when you think you've practiced enough, practice more, because inexperience can kill.
Inexperience altogether is the biggest contributing factor I've observed in my career. Too many young people drive too fast for the conditions, are not paying attention to the roadway, don't know how to control their motor vehicle because it's too fast for them when they're driving on certain roadways. And they're inexperienced with the weather and different conditions that are out there. I've observed a lot of inexperience in my career, just because people have busier lives and they just don't seem to have the time to get out there and practice as much as possible. But parents tend to forget that driving's something that you'll keep with you your whole life. And then the more time you get out there and practice, and as parents And as young drivers, the information you can pass on to each other, and especially parents to their kids, is valuable.
I'm Carissa. I'm 15 years old and I have my permit. I play basketball. I practice 5 times a week, every morning before school. That's where Dad's taking me now. I practice my jump shot a lot. I just want to get really good. I have choir practice twice a week. I could probably use a lot more. There's a lot to learn. I just started taking guitar lessons. That requires 7 hours a week of practice. That can get to be a drag sometimes.
You're learning a skill that will last you a very long time.
There's softball practice, gymnastics, and marching band practice.
Where do we find the time?
Hey Dad, maybe I should drive home. It'll be good practice.
My tips for teens: if you have an issue with driving around with your parents in a car because you think it's embarrassing, here's what you do. You go out and get some really baggy clothes for your parents. Put them on them, put a hat on them sideways, stuff them down in the seat next to you, put some awful music I won't let my dog listen to in the CD player, drive out of the town where you live, and probably they'll buy you dinner and you can get some practice driving around in a community you're not used to. It'll be an easier way for you to get out and get practice.
Practice. All it takes is practice, practice, practice.
Practice. Practice, practice, practice.